Our funds are almost depleted, and we will not be able to continue into the new year. Please help us finish this church to the glory of God. I view this church as my legacy to Holy Cross Monastery for the future. Absolutely. It's so miraculous to me that it's really hard for me to believe it's really there. It sounds funny to say it, but I mean that concretely. It's really difficult for me to believe it's there. And it is absolutely miraculous that it's there and it's so perfect. I remember when I was a young man and I couldn't figure out the meaning of life. I guess like most young men, I couldn't figure it out. There has to be some sort of meaning to everything. And in high school, it was particularly difficult because I'm a very social person, and I had lots of friends. And we would hang out together, we would do things together, and they were my good friends, and I loved them, and they loved me. But I was never content with the things that they were content with. When the party was over, the dinner was over, I would always think, and I would share this with my friends, there has to be more than this. And they would say, well, why don't you go shopping tomorrow? Why don't you go shopping and buy yourself a new shirt? I said, no, that's not what I'm looking for, you know. But that was their response to my dilemma. But I always knew there had to be something more, but I didn't know what it was until one day I saw some sort of video. I can't remember now what monastery it was about, but it was about some monastery, about their life. And I was just mesmerized. I couldn't believe there were places like that. I thought that was something that was from the Dark Ages, the Middle Ages or something, but they exist, and they exist today. And I thought, I could live for that. I could live for that, to live for Christ. And that everything you do is for Christ. Nothing makes us happier than to please Him. So whether we're cutting grass or talking to a pilgrim, making supper or cleaning bathrooms, everything is for Him. And that's really worth living for. Father Callistos is the founder of the monastery. He started the monastery in 1986 in St. Louis, very humble beginnings. He also was the founder of a parish called St. John Chrysostom in House Springs, Missouri, and I went there for liturgy. And I remember walking in, and it's the first time I ever heard the Divine Liturgy in English. And it was a humble church, small and humble, a low flat ceiling and paper print icons, and the choir wasn't that great. And I was like an hour late for the liturgy because I misunderstood what time it started. So everything was wrong, except when I walked in there, I felt what they say that the emissaries from the Tsar felt when he sent them to Constantinople, that they didn't know if they were in heaven or on earth. I can truly say that's exactly how I felt. My mouth was probably open. I was so in awe. This is what I've been dreaming about my whole life. This is the kind of spiritual life that I wanted. And everything about that church was, its humility was very obvious, but also the piety of the people and the piety of Father Callistos. Father Callistos was very much a people person. He visited his parishioners in their homes on a regular basis, was involved in everyone's life, and really loved and cared about everyone. He was also very zealous for the faith, very zealous, and so a lot of people who were also very zealous were drawn to him. But the monastery didn't really grow, even though he was the founder. So he reposed in 1992. And after he reposed, everyone thought that's the end of Holy Cross Monastery. The founder is gone. And I ended up joining his monastery. And after I joined, a whole series of other monks began to join. And we just began to grow and grow. Then Archbishop Loris, later Metropolitan Loris, and Father George Schaefer, now Bishop George Schaefer, he was my spiritual father for many, many years. They decided to make me a priest and put me in charge of the monastery. As monks, we're really nothing special. We're not great stylites or cave dwellers or stand all night in prayer. We're just American men who've heard the voice of Christ calling them to follow him in a very special way, a very unique way, to follow him with all of our hearts and with all of our mind, to give ourselves to him completely and to trust in his promises. We're all here because Father Kallistos had a dream that was never realized in his life, but it's realized now. So if he could come and see this, especially see this church, I think he would probably weep with tears of joy seeing this magnificent church here. It's the total fulfillment of what he wanted to do, what he wanted to accomplish. A place, a monastery that's a place of refuge for men who are seeking to get free of this world with all of its seductions and confusion and darkness, and come to the surety of the church. I can see his face. His eyes would be so wide, and he would have a huge smile on his face. He would be absolutely delighted with this church. This is what he wanted to do. This is really what he wanted to do. The monastery has become what he wanted it to be. And for whatever reason, God didn't allow that when he was alive. We're very close to finishing this church. The time has come to furnish it and make it a proper house of God. But we can't do it without your help, and we need your help now. Our funds are almost depleted, and we will not be able to continue into the new year. Please help us finish this church to the glory of God. Please help us make Father Kallistos' dream a reality.